Well, hello and welcome to the wrap. This is episode number 61, and this is the show running up all things Zwift from the last week racing events, tech, fashion, you name it. We're live on Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Thursday, September 14th, 2023. I'm Nathan Guerra, and Anna Russell's in New Zealand virtually next to me. I am in the far north woods of Wisconsin in a little bit different setting in a cabin, actually getting ready for the Schwamagon Fat Tire 40, a part of the Lifetime Grand Prix. So hopefully everything's coming through clearly. Does everybody? I'm just gonna do a quick mic check here. Everybody can hear me all right because not everything's loading on my computer, but I think we're gonna be good for this round of the wrap number 61. If you are hanging out in chat, please go ahead and jump in, ask us some questions, comments, etc. on all the topics. We got a great one for you today. Zwift Racing League pushing up to 2,000 teams, somewhere close to 2,000 teams that have registered. Race this past Tuesday, opening round on the Rolling Highlands. There were a lot of great races that went on out there. We did broadcast here on Zwift Community Live 5 races out of EMEA as well as 2 races out of the Americas. We'll do a little bit of a roundup on that and think, what were the tactics? What worked? Has anything changed since some of the changes in game? There's been a huge this season on Zwift press release that went out yesterday, and we're going to cover all of the cool, spicy details across that. New roads on Watopia. There looks like there's some gamification coming. Pretty cool stuff. So some changes as well to the climb portals. Also, a new Zwift update. We'll give you a rundown on it all. On the Coach's Corner today, it's going to be all about what do you want to focus on? Is it all about the marginal gains versus is it more important to focus in on the base and the foundational stuff? And what should we give our time to, depending on how much time we actually have? And Anna's bringing the Coach's Corner workout of the week at you with a 6 times sweet spot with surges. That looks like long warm up is in the notes. So it actually looks like a pretty cool workout. It looks like a little bit of SST, but with extra punches in there. So I'm excited for that. And the Zwift Korean Racers, the jersey pick this week. Excited to go over that for fashion. So that's what we got coming at you. But first, as always, what's everybody? What's everybody? Well, let's know what you've been up to in chat. What have Hannah and I been up to for the last week when it comes to Zwift and racing and all things biking? Anna, I'll let you go first.
Okay, well, I started my program, like my proper program, and I did, the workout I'm going to share this week, which is it was a sweet spot workout, and it was like a 2.5 hour ride. You came into my live stream when I did that, Nathan, so that was fun. But it was pretty good. Like it kind of. Yeah, I think I'll be ready in like 3 weeks to get back to some ZRL stuff. Because when I then de-essed the ZRL racing on My Time Wednesday, I was like, ooh, okay. Like I can hold some sweet spot at the moment, but man, those like punchy kicks, yeah, I need to like work up to those a little bit more because I don't want to just, I want to be competitive. But we'll get into like a little bit of a ZRL sum up, but it was amazing. And then it's the end of the school term for the kids, so you know all about this. So last night we had like an art show. Tuesday we had a kapa haka performance. Tonight we've got a disco. So there's just like a lot of peripheral stuff going on. And it's my daughter's 2nd birthday today, so hence we started a little early so I can get up and we can open all the prezzies before school. What about you, Nathan? You're more like full race focus.
Well, kind of. You know what's interesting, and this kind of relates to my week as well, is finding the time. This week has been a thing as far as the cycling goes, so I'll relate that back definitely to some Zwifting stuff because Zwift Racing League, with how crazy this week has actually been with family stuff on top of the launch of the broadcasts that we're doing. We've got a lot, as we're coming into Zwift season, Zwift Community Live's work just really, really ramps up a ton as well. So, the fact that Zwift Racing League was on a Tuesday night, which is with a Saturday race, Tuesday is essentially your last sharpening day. Like that's really when you get your last intensity effort in. So it fit perfectly for me. But yeah, it's been absolutely crazy. I sent you some messages. This will be an interesting one for the podcast. They're going to be like, wait, what? And I didn't want to, you don't want to mention anything publicly until everything's in the clear when it comes to this kind of stuff. But my daughter was actually so one of the busy things was my daughter was falsely accused in court. Interesting, and we won this case that I had to do all this detective stuff for. You were saying like I should go and be a detective with the pictures that I sent you, but we had to go like I actually had to get the what do they call the TV that
Oh,
the little cameras that are
CCTV.
in a gas station? CCTV. We had to get those,
Oh my
look
God.
at them, see this person stealing things, and then we went to the same place and took pictures of my daughter and put them side by side, and then we sent them to the district attorney, and immediately it was like dropped. We were like, so that's been in the background like a huge stressor because I think I spent 3 days of my life like on that thing
Oh my
trying to like, yeah. So
gosh.
that was, the things have been big. So there's that on top of getting ready for Schwamagon. I've still trained. I think last week was still like a 13-hour week or so. You know what I mean? 13 to 15. Still going toward peaking, but needed to keep some base stuff in there too. And so yeah, it's been really busy. So, my week has been the last couple of days just lifting, like coming up here too beforehand. I got on and I was like I think I was really dehydrated in ZRL, so I was like, "Oh man, drink some water and like see how I'm feeling," and got a little bit of heat training actually as well in on before we left Wednesday. So that's what I've been up to, ZRL and got a lot of heat training actually. I've been doing that when I'm peaking. It's kind of like a change up a little bit in order to because you don't want to stress your muscles too much or get too tired, but you can do something that can still have some marginal gains since we're going to talk about those, right?
Yeah.
So
Yes.
that's what I've been up to.
Ah, that's awesome. I think sometimes as well, when you've got a big race, sometimes kid distraction or any distraction is actually kind of good. Sometimes it stops you a little bit, sort of. I mean, maybe don't ask Wout van Aert before Worlds, but he did come second. But sort of, it can kind of take
Yeah,
away.
second at Worlds ain't too bad. Ain't too
Yeah.
bad for having a baby.
But you know what I mean? It kind of like is a good sort of little distraction. Like I know with even ZRL, when I have to go to work beforehand and then I just have to go straight from work home, get my stuff, get on the bike, I sometimes have a better race than when I've been at home all morning just sitting there going, oh, okay, 3 hours to go. Okay, 2 hours to go, So I think you should be in for a good one.
I actually think that I've noticed it as well that I've had some of my best races when I have not just kid stuff, but also like they're involved in some sort of way where they have a race and like that morning I'm like walking around the course for them, like cheering them on or cheering the juniors on or something. And like a lot of people are like, why don't you have your legs up? Like, what are you doing? You're just like, and actually, like that, for some reason, almost a lot of my best races have been the ones that I'm not so just completely but like frozen. I feel like you get into this frozen and thinking too much about it and like too much. And if you have other stuff that's outside of just your race,
Yeah.
which is just a 2 hour thing of like your own little experience, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like
Oh yeah.
versus like something bigger than yourself. So that's always kind of helped me too, it feels like. But I don't feel like it's help at the time. At the time my head's
That
like,
stresses you out.
oh,
Oh my
it's kind of
gosh.
a little bit.
Oh no. And what about this lodge? Because where is Schwamagon? Sorry, I gotta ask. Because what's the?
Yeah, no. So this is a little cabin we found. It's called the Morgan, and it looks like when we got here, they have a few cabins in the area. These people, and yeah, it's like about 18 miles outside of Hayward, Wisconsin. And actually, this place is really, really well known for two of the biggest endurance events in not only the Midwest slash America when it comes to mountain biking with the Schwamagon 40, which is today's actually 40 years of Schwamagon. Well, not today, but Saturday will be. But it also hosts the Birkebeiner. And the Birkebeiner in the ski world is huge. I mean, like it's big, big. Like the whole world descends on Hayward, Wisconsin, in the middle of the winter to do the Birkie Trail and race and ski race, XC, cross country skiing. And so, that's really cool. And so it's kind of like they use this area for some pretty big sporting events in the world. And then they also do a fat bike race as well. I believe that's the week after the Berkey, and so you actually can race a fat bike on the same trail that they do the Berkey Binder on the week after like I think 6,000 to 8,000, maybe even 10,000 competitors or something come here and
Oh
race
my
that
gosh.
trail on skis. So
That is
yeah,
so cool.
this one I think it's more like 2,000 to 3,000, I want to say, when it comes to the mountain bike side of things. And I think this is one of the first mountain bike races, like when mountain bikes first started getting cool in the 80s. This was one of the first ones that was because it's a ski trail. It isn't, when it comes to like if you watch the World Cup and all that kind of stuff, it's not World Cup type racing. It's not like laps with like super technical rocks, and this is like old school mountain biking, wide open trail, like
Ah,
lots of
cool.
really good climbs and stuff like that. But it's and one of the reasons it's really popular too is because all the roadies can get their
Oh, I was
mountain
going to
bike out and be like,
say,
I'm mountain biking.
this sounds like
Yeah.
the kind of mountain
So
biking I'm going to be into. I
yeah, I
like
mean
it.
it's like it's an extreme gravel race essentially.
Oh,
So
awesome. Well, I'm heading out mountain biking in the like a mountain biking mecca of New Zealand, the Redwood Forest, next weekend with the kids. So
you
I'll
guys have a place called the Redwood Forest?
yeah, it's the Redwoods. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
I
Redwoods and
like that.
Rotorua. Yeah. They're actually hosting I found this out because Ariel Verhaeren messaged me because I tagged her in a post with my kids starting BMX. I was like, oh, Ariel, give me some hot tips. And she's actually coming to those Redwood Forests next year for the BMX World Cup, maybe? Yeah, so she's bringing a
Oh wow.
team of Americans out. So I'm going to get to meet another Zwifter like in the wild. It'll be amazing.
It's always the best. Well, so now do we want to do a ZRL roundup since that was kind of our,
Yeah.
like we already gave a little bit about our own experience, but I mean, I felt like, so let's go ahead and jump right on into that. And we want to know all about your experience with ZRL as well. So you got anything, let us know in chat as well as afterwards in the comments. We'll love to get back and hear what your experience is all about. But I thought we were out on Rolling Highlands, um, 3 laps, and it was just a scratch race though, which really changed things up.
Hmm.
And I felt like the way that things changed up on this course, I saw a lot of attacks. I saw a lot of breakaways actually succeed across categories, maybe not just in the A category, but to me, it felt like the racing was dynamic, and people were able to do well. People who wanted to try some things were able to try some things and actually maybe get some reward from it.
Sorry, I was mid cough there. Yeah, so I think I was DSing. I've got to say, standout performance, and I know you will not disagree with me, was Gabby's solo raid in the EMEA Women. So I heard about that as soon as I woke up, and our chat on Discord had lit up because people had obviously been watching it to see like how the race was sort of going to pan out for our Americas one, and it was just all about Gabby's breakaway. So I was like, oh, that's so awesome, go Gabby! So awesome to see that she did that. That was probably one of my faves in our race. So I was DSing, which like. Oh, it's so hard. Like I love DSing. That's like a here. And for those listening, like I'm sitting at DSing at about like a loving level of 95%. But I just love racing a little bit more. So I'm kind of like, I finished DSing with this feeling of like, yay, go team. Like we won as a team. But I'm also like, oh, I just want to race. But it was good. The thing I did find, I mean, I'm going to go into a little bit of the weeds here. Was the things I love, scratch race, awesome. I know we had it one season where it was an inadvertent scratch race because for some reason the points weren't working and it was like one of the best races. So I'm so stoked that we opened with a scratch race. The course was really great. I thought it was quite, like you said, dynamic to bring out sort of some different strategies. The power-ups, I think, I'm not sold on the power-ups for this one. So it was a burrito and a feather, and what we did lap 1. So we have the way I kind of work as a DS is we have a solid strategy for lap 1, or the first part of the race, and then we'll vary that based on what actually happens after that. Because sometimes I used to have a strategy right till the end, and then after the first bit, I'm like, oh, that's totally changed because half the team didn't make it or something, So the first strategy, which I thought was quite good, is at the banner, everyone got feathers. So they were set power-ups, which I'm kind of 50-50 on still. But I told 3 of my team to save their feathers and 3 of the team to use their feathers so that they'd get a burrito. Then when we hit that false flat, because pretty much everyone else in the race has used their feather up breakaway bray, and this is my hot tip, never be afraid to save a power-up if you don't need it. If you don't need it up breakaway bay and you can stay with the group, just save it, because then you can use it somewhere else, especially when they're set power-ups and no one has it. So then up the false flat climb, we totally split the pack. So we had the 3 with feathers, put in an attack and breakaway off the front, and a few others went with them. And then we had the 3 teammates who had burritos, truck burritos on the front of the pack so that it reduced the draft of the chasing pack. So it was a great tactic. We split the pack and then we ended up with sort of just 10 or so riders out the front, which was awesome, reduced sprint, but then we had 2024 to contend with, and, Kulczynski went on a bit of a raid out the front. But shout out to Angela Roberts, though, who she's a sprinter, I think, and she got on her wheel. And there was some great chat going on. I don't know if you saw that, but Kristen Kulczynski's like, let's take turns. And Angela's like, no, I'm a sprinter. And then she's like, come on. And Angela's like, I've also got 5 teammates behind me. I don't need to.
Yep.
So, yeah,
Yep.
it was good.
We caught that in the broadcast. The moment that happened in the broadcast, I was like, ooh, because the way Kristen said it was take a pull. And I was like, whoa, okay. And then Angela was like, no, I'm a sprinter. And then it was like, it was one of those awkward moments. Oh boy, things are happening. And then Katrina Weiss came in the chat and said, good job, Angela. You're doing what you should. And it was like, woo, there's
Getting spicy.
So good rivalry. Angela messaged me afterwards and was like, man, Kristen, why has she got to be so strong? Because Kristen ended up winning the sprint against her in the final, though.
Ah, right. Yeah, she worked on her sprint.
Angela went early. She went a little too early, I thought.
Yeah. So I think with that as well, I was DSing, so I was laughing my head off when that exchange happened. But I don't know if Kristen Kulczynski listens to the podcast. I might tell her this. So her saying take a pull is literally like Remco Evenepoel, I don't know if you're watching the Vuelta, turning to Roman Bardet and saying take a pull. And Roman's like, I don't think so. Kristen won every race last season. If anyone shares a pull with her, they're an idiot because she's gonna beat them. So the whole point is to get on her wheel and make her do all the work. So anyway, I just thought it was hilarious. I realized though when I'm in pen E, my chat didn't show up on the screen, but I was trying to get the chase pack because the chase pack only had one 2024 rider, and this is that kind of the tactics of cycle racing with teams. Is I was like, guys, you need to start taking pulls. They were only 10 seconds up. I was like, you guys need to start taking pulls with ATP and with AO. But I couldn't find a way to communicate with them to tell them that. So, but they really needed to take pulls because they could have reined it in as well. And that's just always the little tricky thing when you can't physically turn your head to the person next to you and say, let's work together, when they're not on your team.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the ice, because that really could have, getting into the weeds a little bit with the America's East race for the women, but it's worth it to say for everyone watching about how to race and what's important, having some ability to communicate with those people and say, hey, this could get out of control. If it does get out of control, we're racing for third, but we could we could still race for the win here, because even if there's a really strong rider up there, we've got sprinters in this pack. There's a lot more tactics that we can employ that, your team might have some things to throw down. Our team might have some things to throw down, where once they got outside of that 15 to 20 seconds, then it's over. And then Madeline just went across. For those that didn't watch the broadcast back, then the other 2024 rider just goes across because they see that no one's motivated. And so when no one's motivated, you just end up in a situation where everybody ends up sitting, and three go up the road. So, one thing though there that to definitely bring it back to Zwift overall and the general situation when it comes to racing because of PD 4.1, that's a situation you wouldn't have seen in the past. On Rolling Highlands, you would have gotten way more speed over the top of the UCI banner. Though it's not a UCI banner during Zwift Racing League, but it's usually a UCI banner heading toward Corkscrew over the top through there. You would have so much speed on the roll through on Corkscrew, and the lock loop cutoff. Both of those would have had way more speed, and those breakaways
Yeah.
would have been shut down in a moment. And so I'm really excited to see, and hopefully it brings some change in mentality. I felt like there were still racers racing in 4.0
Yes.
and
Yes.
and not 4.1. The way that they were thinking, they were definitely thinking timid. It's all this, you don't do a whole lot, that there isn't a lot that you can work with. And it's so different now. There's a lot more you can work with when it comes to the ability to make attacks and use your efforts.
Yeah. So I think like this is so Jen, who's our also like, she was riding, but she had a tech issue. So she was kind of DSing with me. So she's like the voice of reason. I'm like the voice of let's make it entertaining. So like on the last lap, I am saying like, because they'd basically now the group had set in, like they're just sitting together and the three out the front had gone. By the way, I timed Maddie's break to the front because I was just interested in how long it took. So it was a 12-second gap and she took about 5 to 6 seconds to close it. So that kind of,
Wow.
yeah, so it sort of shows though that it's closable. It's so closable. And then she did the effort, set in a bit and then went again. But anyway, I was like, come on, guys, I think we should do something. And they're all like puffing and like, I think it was just really hard to like stay with the group anyway. And Jen's like, no, save your energy. And then just let's go for the win at the line, like go for the points at the line. I'm like, yeah, but someone could just go. Come on, Em, use that burrito, just go. And she's like, really, should I? And Jen's like, no. I'm like, okay. And then they get to the line. It was like, in the bunch sprint, we were like first, second, third. So I was like, well, okay, Jen, I'll give it to you.
M Nyquist. Where's she coming from all of a sudden? Like, what is that?
Yeah. So
Like,
that was a super interesting race to DS with her because I know there were parts where she was dropping off the back and I wasn't quite sure if it was the draft or the effort, but I was like, oh my God, you need to get closer to like, get on. Cause I knew the draft and I was like, you're going to drop. Like I've seen riders be right there and then just gone. And so I was like, come on. And then she had that sprint at the end. I mean, I know she's been doing a lot of racing on Indy Velo, which does have a lot of that point stuff and like sprints at each line. So I think her sprint was really strong and she's good on climb. So I think it was like the perfect finish for her. But I got a shout out too to Claire Cameron. Sorry, this is such a right thing. But yeah, I mean, she was like, I'm coming back into fitness. We'll see how we go. And then she's like coming in there sprinting for the line just after M. So yeah, it's always good to have your team like back together.
Yeah, I also am noticing that I think some teams are still struggling to get a full roster to show up, it seemed like. So I think that we are going to have a lot more riders coming in as the rounds and the seasons go
Yeah.
on. You know, really, when it comes to ZRL, in my conversations directly with WTRL, actually with Martin, he's like, yeah, the first round, it's a hype round and it's a marketing round. It's in some ways, because it gets it out there that like, hey, we're starting up. Here we go. Here it comes. And it's like, of course, it's a serious competition, but the main Zwift season is still to come. You know what I mean? So this is just like, we're almost hitting record numbers, but there's still, when you look at 2024, they usually have a full roster. There was only 2 riders, right? Like,
yeah.
So there's definitely a lot more that we're going to see coming in. And that's super exciting to me, actually, to see almost 100 riders across a lot of these categories. And yet we're still probably going to see a 50% or more increase in the number of riders that are even in the next round.
Yeah. It was, like I said, DSing was fun, but I was like, man, I can't wait to race. And so I'm looking forward to that Yorkshire course, which will be a bit of
You're one of these riders. You're one of these riders.
Exactly. Yeah. Right. Yeah, it is just like that. Quite a lot of our team couldn't make the first 2 races for some reason or another. And I know it's school holidays for us here in New Zealand coming up, so a lot of people kind of go away. So yeah, I'm excited though. So and then next week is Makuri 40, which I'll be reconning over the weekend to get some sweet DS action happening on what we'll have there.
What do you think is going to happen when all of a sudden we swap over to a points race? Like you have all these ideas of like this is what things people think is going to be fun. This is what people think is going to their experience of
Mm.
something is going to be, and then they experience the scratch race just now. It's like, oh, did they enjoy that? Did they not enjoy that? And it goes back to a points race. Do you think it's going to be like, hey, I really like the scratch race, or are they gonna, or is it going to be like, oh, let's go back to the point race, or we've hit that Goldilocks right now? We've hit the Goldilocks moment of ZRL where it's going to be just right. It's a good mix.
Like, if I go with what I think, like, I think this, the way they've done it this time is like they've improved it. I think it's great with like a scratch, a points, a TT, a scratch, a points, a TT. I think that's like really great. But, and I mean, this is like, and this is where you can't satisfy everybody because some people love TTTs. They'd want like 5 of them, you know, they'd want the whole series to be TTTs.
Yeah,
I,
more general, general.
yeah, I think I kind of like, I would like another scratch race. I would almost like a scratch race to replace the TTT. Um,
Hmm.
or with
Like
what we're going
one
to,
TTT, like
just
one
like
time trial, maybe throughout
one,
the whole thing.
yeah, one TT. So if you've got a round of 6, one TT kind of TTT right smack in the middle, and then finish off with like quite a hard race. Like I think we can do it, you know, like a scratch race on big foothills or, you know, like a really attritional race. I know that they can be from a like broadcaster commentator point of view, they are like the most boring races to commentate because it's so long, it splits, and then you're at the end commentating, you know, like 2 riders near each other and trying to make a story out of it going up epic climb or something. But as a racer, it's quite a nice sort of like bookmark on the season to have like a bit of a challenge race. But again, like that's not for everybody. Some people be like, that is the worst idea ever. So I think the mix they've got at the moment satisfies the most people. And I think it's pretty good.
Hmm. Yeah, it's interesting. I wonder if you're right though about changing up just to the. I could see the general consensus maybe being one TTT and then add something else that everybody really, really enjoys, scratch race, points race, something else or something in the mix of it. Like doing 3 of what's most popular, 2 of what's kind of popular, and then one of like, here's the race of truth of your whole team.
Mm.
That might be something because I would have to agree also that tactically speaking, a time trial there just really isn't much to it. It's more skill. It's a
Yeah.
skill and pure power. It's whether or not you got the skill and pure power, but there isn't that us versus them in a live action
Yeah.
situation so much, you know. And so I think the live action when it comes to showing up for a game, one TTT, I could see like, all right, let's go and it like and it's live action with your team going after it. But I don't know, like be interesting if that changes up what the feedback is. Maybe it is the Goldilocks. Maybe it's that's just my preference. I don't know. And they've hit the porridge just right. So, but hey, so that's our anything else on the roundup for ZRL? I feel like there's so many things that we could say. From EMEA had some really cool battles across the men's and the women's. Gabby did have that walk away, but then on the other side of the women's things, it came down to a bunch sprint when it came to the 2 European streams that we had. Across the C category, I am seeing, keeping things editorially. Yeah, buddy, here you go. My kiddos, 1 second. They're doing school today virtually. So I did see some people there has been quite a bit of like where are categories at and why are they at where
Yeah.
they at. A lot of people had like riders walking away. Is there a new definition? Like, and there's always this edge of like, how do I say this right? um, because in the back of my head, there's 2 different things happening, and getting to the objectivity of it as best as you can about how you set things up so everybody can be as happy as we can get them. Because the expectation of walking into a space and being competitive at the highest end of that space, that is an expectation that just needs to go away in racing. I'm sorry. If you're a racer, like advancing in racing should be something that
Yeah.
you aspire to.
Oh my gosh,
Okay,
Nathan.
there's that.
Like, oh,
There's
yeah.
that. Okay, that's one thing. And then they're setting up categories well so that people can find a place to aspire to and balancing. And I'm speaking to both ends of this now. I'm speaking to the competitor and I'm speaking to the event organizer, right? And the onus is on both of them to come to this happy medium space. And it is much more on the event organizer to try and figure out what that objective thing is as best as possible within a community to set it up for an aspiring space. But then it's on the competitor to recognize that competition is about aspiring to being better and not winning all the time and not, or even
Mm.
being in the lead pack or whatever that might
Yeah.
be. So people need to understand you can't, if you're in the right place, there's a great song. I posted it actually over in the ZRL Facebook page. It's called Learn to Lose by Bakermat. Go put that on repeat because that's how you get better at cycling. Please put that on repeat.
Like, I could not agree with you more. Like, the mess, I've been organizing the Southern Hemisphere events over our winter, and I get this email at the end, and it was like, "Oh, I've been upgraded to C, but I can't go into my D category." And I write back, I'm like, "Congratulations, you must have had a great season. Like, that's so awesome that you've had a power increase. Good work. You're really going to come into our summer season like firing." Get the email back. "This is in no way an instance that I should be congratulated. Blah, 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 blah." I'm like, she's like, "I'm going to go from winning to being middle of the pack." I'm like, "Yeah, but being a better cyclist. Woohoo." Like, and I think it really like comes down to that nitty gritty, like results versus process orientated, like the Carol Dweck growth mindset kind of stuff. Like, if you're all about getting better, it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. If you're about winning, then the categorized system would suck. And I had quite a few people actually not do the series this year because of that AutoCAT system, because they said, and this was super interesting, they said there are people in our race who are actively watching their watts to make sure that they stay within limits, and it makes the racing extremely frustrating. And I was like, yeah, I mean, I can't empathize with that so much because I race an ACAT, which is why I'm kind of glad I race an ACAT where there's nowhere to go. So you just race hard. You can't go anywhere. Like, there's no whatever miracle cat up there. So I think, yeah, for the DC and B cats,
MCAT,
it's tricky.
the MCAT. We're going to name it MCAT,
The MCAT.
now. It's the MCAT.
Yeah, but I feel you on that one. And I think I have seen a bit of stuff coming out, and, the kind of like posting up on the Facebook chat of like people's numbers or Zwift profiles and being like, "How is this person CCAT?" I'm like, well, there's a crucial part missing there, which is their weight. You've just shown watts per kg. I don't know. Like, let's not sort of start doing that kind of thing,
So one thing I will say is like, okay, there may be now. That was very aimed at, okay, just making sure we take care of, are you looking to aspire, right? That thing. And then there's another side of it that you just said that's like, whoa, maybe the way that ranking is happening can be manipulated too much for sandbagging to be able to happen. So like that needs to be eliminated. Like I'm 100% on board with you there, that the elimination of being able to watch your numbers and hang out somewhere where you're just smoking people, that needs to go away. And I think results-based categorization has been asked for about 5 to 6 years now at this point. Zwift are obviously working on it. It's in the updates that we are about to talk about, actually. So that's in process. Sorry, that's essentially a sorry, wish it wasn't this way. Maybe should have been worked on earlier, but it hasn't been, but we'll get there. You know what I mean? Like that's one thing. And then there's also this long-standing expectation of what the categories are defined as too. And if there's a guy coming into the chat right now, Alejandro, and I can understand that, like, the category definition is, and this is a good problem to have actually, because there's so much participation at this point that the category is so big that it
Yeah.
brings in so many people that 4 categories are not enough to define the fitness levels at this point. It seems like if the category is so big that you feel like you have no weight in the
Yeah.
race, right? Because at 84 you get 1 point and everybody just gets 1 point, 84th place and back, right?
Yeah.
And so maybe there needs to be a little bit of, you know, and this is still a part of our learning. I mean, we're a couple of years, what are we, 3 years into the largest sporting event on a weekly basis in the entire world, managing all these people and their needs. I mean, give a little bit of space. And I think, yeah, there's probably some better ways that we can get toward on this 100%.
Yeah.
But I think those are the things. I'm not saying that there's an answer other than I think those are the places that we can work on as a community, that the organizers and the athletes can work on those kind of 3 areas. Like, what are
Yeah.
you coming in for expectations? How is the organizers going to get rid of the ways people can manipulate things?
Mm-hmm.
And then, wow, we got this really good problem. How do we recategorize maybe?
Yeah. I do want to bring up Aaron Bleakley's point as well, because I think that's like, I haven't thought about that, but that's actually, it's a really good point, is that also the way WTRL has done it has been really good, because you've also got, I'm an ACAT, but I'm not an ACAT like, this is probably a bad example, but Jackie Godby is. Jackie Godby is just like a what monster on the flats, but I can shine on a few climbs, you know, like I'm not a what monster on the sprints. So they've got a mix of courses too. Like, and if you've got a well-rounded team, you can still move around and be 30th one week, top 10 the next week, back of the pack in 1 week, because it's just a shocker of a course for you. So I think it's also course dependent. Like, you look at the Vuelta happening, like you have a team of riders. Some are particularly good, Alpecin, at sprint finishes, but we're not going to see them up, you know, the high mountains. That's where another team comes to the forefront. So I think as well, like, you know, if you're feeling a little bit disheartened or you're thinking there's sandbaggers out there or whatever, is like, look at courses through the season. Like, we do this with our team, and you star the ones you really, really want to do, because you're like, those really match my profile. And accept that on some other courses, some other riders may just be like significantly better. I think as well, as a team manager, like, I made sure, and we didn't really need to do this because we're ACAT, but I saw a few comments as well coming through from the race one that a lot of people weren't in the right category. And that's really on the team manager. Like, the team manager knows the rules, and I knew that I wanted every new rider on my team and the ones who hadn't raced for a while to do a minimum of 3 races. Like, let's bed in where you're at. And I just wanted to know where they are at. But for a C team, you need to make sure that they're not B category, because that'll happen first race and then you've lost a teammate for the rest of the season. So that's also on you to make sure you've done the prep work and getting the people on the right cats to start with.
That's a good point, actually. Like, that somebody maybe not being, it might look like they were trying to keep their numbers in some sort of way or whatever, but then they go and they race all out, and bam, like they're
Yep.
suddenly somewhere else. And so, and that's not on, that definitely, I would agree with you. The onus is on the individual, that they have done some really hard all-out racing to figure out where those numbers might be at, so that they're in the correct space. So it looks like some recruiting. It looks like some recruiting needs to happen at that point.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
well, that's our ZRL rundown. If you got any opinions or ideas, we want to hear them. We definitely want to also address them as best as we possibly can to get some, the conversation going, because that's the only way that things move forward too, as far as like some of the things that might be maybe not hiccups, but just stuff that's like, hey, we want to see this get better. But I personally had a ton of fun. But, well, ton of fun. My experience is we TT'd off the front. OMG,
Oh
just
my God, I
like
didn't know you
right from
raced.
the, yeah. So
Oh,
OMG went
cool.
out like right from the get go. Peter Mogg went. Then I was like, so what I was thinking was like, I need the experience of what's going to happen at Schwamagon. I'm going 500 watts bridging to him, and he was like, and he was going like 555 gas, just full gas for like, and he got like 10 to 15 seconds, and I was like, right from the gun too. I was like, oh man, I gotta close this as fast as I can. And the whole time, all I was thinking was, what will it be feeling like to try and hold on to those initial climbs at Schwamagon this weekend? So I was watching just, and I was like, I got to hold, and I read Payson McKelvin's uh, Gravel Nationals post, and he said they did at 5 hours in, they did 550 watts for a minute and a half at
Oi.
5 hours in. Right. So I was like, that's the minimum. I was like, that's the minimum that I have to do right here. So I just went and man, when I blew up full, like completely blew up and then held onto the wheel and then essentially in blow up mode, just we had rider after rider come across. The only thing is when you're a dominating team in a category, for me, it's not fun anymore.
Yeah.
Honestly, like I'm like we need some competition, and I'm actually like for round two. Sorry, OMG boys, I'm looking for vision guys at this point because like we need OMG needs competition. I'm on OMG, but
Or
we
you could
need
just,
and
Nathan, just
so
do Jumbo Visma. Just compete against each other. Get off Discord and just be like,
well, that kind of happened at the sprint. Like me and the rest of the guys all sprinted each other, but it was out of a TTT, and so it's kind of like so we need one or two or three more teams that are like throw it at us a little bit. So and I don't know, OMG's probably gonna be mad at me. No, they'll love me still, I think, but we just need to make it so that there's a little bit more parity across some of the at least within our America's West, and it's also a more quiet time. So you know what I mean? Like
yeah.
it's tough on some of the ends of the divisions within each of the world regions to try and really find bigger chunks of riders to really find that depth sometimes. So, but all right, let's move on to Zwift update. Let's run it all down real quickly here, and then we'll get to the really spicy stuff from this season on Zwift. So, what
Okay.
out of this update, 1.48 released yesterday, and
Oh,
there's a
that
lot of
update.
fixes for Zwift
Oh, yeah.
Play. What are you thinking as far as your favorite thing that you're seeing in here? Maybe I could run down real quickly though. Fixes for Zwift Play.
Yeah.
There were some fixes for Garmin Connect not doing some things that have been around for a while. Zwift Racing scores actually pulled from the program platform right now. It had a soft launch, but now it looks like we're looking to reintroduce it. Is talking. Did we have an actual date on that? I think maybe down into October, November, but nothing hard or solid. I don't think, as far as that goes. I think that's the big one when it comes to
Mm.
anything that we've been just talking about.
Yeah, I mean, the update that's coming in the next, like the day or so, I mean, that's kind of like, I don't know, it's kind of boring. Bug fixes. New roads. Can we talk about new roads?
All right. Well, since we had just talked about results-based categorization, Zwift are working on that. They released into the wild the racing score, and now they've pulled it because they're like, okay, there's people that weren't maybe happy about the exact way that it was working, and they're listening. So that's one thing that I think is nice is that we can see that they're working on something, they're listening, and they want to get it really, really right so that we can get out of this space where people are maybe able to manipulate where they place themselves within categorization and heading towards result-based categorization. For those who are maybe new, and like one of the things we really like to do is to make sure we're not making things more complicated for you as a Zwifter as we communicate. The difference being there's two different ways that you can look at your categorization. One is we have an assumption about what you can do before you enter a race based on a fitness profile, okay? And that's like an assumption that has nothing to do on any results other than like we think you can do these numbers, okay?
Mm.
And then there's you earn something that is a space amongst results that you have gained, right? And so it doesn't have anything to do with any kind of power profile that you have. It only has something to do with like you've proven that this is where you should exist. And objectively, if you think through the logic of it, that would then place somebody in a competition space in the right place based on what those competitions are about. And so like it's just a natural cycle that ends up putting you in the right place over and over and over again, unless you just like to lose. If you like to lose, for some reason you'll stay wherever you like to lose. And if you like to win and you can do it, you'll end up upgrading out of winning. And so that's the difference between those. And the reason why we want to get there is it can't be manipulated because winning's the goal. And if you do it, it gets you the rewards of going somewhere else, when it
Oh,
comes to
on that
to
though,
a better category. Yeah.
And this is the chat we had with, I've just forgotten his name, but he came in around the Zwift Racing score. What if winning is not the goal? So this is where, for me, it's like I want results-based categorization, but man, it is going to be a complicated beast because the racing I do on Zwift is mostly just Grand Prix and ZRL. I kind of very rarely just jump into a race. And if I do, it might be more like a tiny race, which this would affect too because they're so short, right? So if it's my goal often in Grand Prix or ZRL is not to win, it is doing a full lead out effort for a teammate to get sprint points. It's about, hey, I'm going to switch to the gravel bike and get fastest time segment up that gravel climb. And then switch back, lose the pack, but I've got all those points and I've taken them off another team. So it's going to be kind of interesting
so you're talking
how
about
those...
team racing. So you're talking about team racing, though. And so in other games, this has also been approached from a
okay.
team perspective, okay, where you have a rating based on a team result, okay? You could have so some games they'll do it where every single game in some games is a team game. And so you just have a personal rating because every time you win or lose, your team won or you lost. And so you go up or down based on that. Dota, perfect example of that. You always have a 5v5. And then bam, whether or not your team tends to win, you end up ranking up or down. In Overwatch, they have role specific where your individual score goes up and down based on winning or losing because you're always trying to win as an individual. So there's different ways that you could do it. You could have two separate ratings. I think that though the solution here that they're aiming at, I think to make it as simple and as quickly being able to launch is one of those best 5 or best 10 results kind of a thing. And that maybe you remove some of the team-based categorization stuff where you weren't maybe trying to go for, right? Like,
I guess the point is like I only really do team-based, I guess. So potentially this, if I went and decided, I am going to do an individual race, then it probably won't be like super valid. Maybe I'll just be like, I guess that's my score. I think this is, we're going down a little rabbit hole, aren't we? But I think like, I don't really care. So if I just look at me, I get the importance, but if I just look at me, I don't really care about it because I race ZRL, like I said, I race ZRL, I race Grand Prix. And to be honest, if I picked another one, I'd probably do like a chasing race, like chasing yellow race, which has their own categorization anyway. Like they've just done their own one. So what races is this for? Is this just for the kind of community races out there that aren't attached to any organization?
Yeah, it's a good point. I mean, I think that the end result of how scratch races play out is going to be the main thing that this is based upon up front. I do think that there are going to be ways, hopefully, in which but this would be much more complicated coding that would have to happen in the future. But there could be a way in which the game then recognizes that in game, this is a team-based win or lose. So your team is all attached to each other, right? And all the points are being ranked in game. And then once whether or not your team got the 20-point win or whatever, like Riot did, then all of you would be given the win as your rank would then, or something along those lines when it comes to those team-based things. I don't know, like, but then the question is that where you belong? Is that not where you belong?
Yeah,
because
we could
separate that out.
Have our 6th dropped rider who was like racing for the first time on Zwift giving it a go. If she suddenly got this uber high race ranking, it would be like, I guess like the end point for me is what I don't want, because I'm all about, like, I love team tactics. Like I will happily sacrifice a race if it's for something fun and that makes a difference to the points at the finish. What I don't want is anything to come in that would disincentivize team tactics. Do you get what I mean? So if someone's like, but if I do that raid and I get dropped from the main pack, I know I just got lots of points, but my like rating is going to go down because I'm going to come 40th instead of 8th.
I think it's a good point. And the more that we talk about this here, the more I think a feature which would only enhance the community of racing to its highest level would be to start developing along down this clubs and team in-game identity, and that the teams that you're a part of have their own ranking identity. The teams that you're a part of have their and then when you do a team-based thing, you're impacting your team-based ranking.
Yeah.
Right? And so you enter a race as Stars No Pins.
So it doesn't impact the individual.
A race as that team. Yeah. Exactly. And so since it is a team-based thing, then the ranking is only based on that result. And then when you're doing individual, you're doing individual ranking, and you have 2 separate ranking. That has also existed in many online competitive games as well. So
we've solved it, Nathan.
It 100% does. And when we used to, so in World of Warcraft, they had this, and it used to be that you could enter Arena. Arena was the competitive space, and you'd enter Arena maybe as an individual, and you had your individual ranking. You just got thrown in with randos, right? Like total rando, and like hopefully they were good or hopefully they weren't. But then you had your 3v3 rating, and then you had your 5v5 rating. So you had actually 3 different ratings for 3 different game types where it mattered. And then if you were on, you had to decide what teams you wanted to be on. So like, oh man, do I want to leave this team and give up my rating, but I really want to play with my other buddy that I'm learning to race with, or not race with, but like go into Arena with or whatever. And so and we kind of already have that with WTRL, and we're figuring out that that's okay with the community. Do you see what I'm saying? Because there is that question is like, do you want to create that tension in the community? That's only actually made things really cool that people are recruiting and drafting and trying to find who's going to identify with what team. And if we had that in game, I think that'd solve this problem a lot.
Yeah, that would be cool. Okay, I think we've solved it, Nathan. There we go. All done. How hard can it be?
Done. Well, okay. Yeah, the guys that I know that are devs, they love you right now, Anna. Oh yeah, solved. Yep, it's all done. Snap your fingers, Anna. Snap, snap. Magic.
Done.
Well, we really went on for a while. We haven't even gotten to the spicy stuff yet.
I know.
Like, right?
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Here we go. All right. Well, what's coming up next? This season on Zwift, they had a press release on Wednesday, yesterday, and there's been a whole lot of new stuff that looks like it's coming pretty quickly here. Let's go right to the new roads. You talked about it right off the bat. Coming in October, there's an expansion to Autopia, actually. We're getting 19 kilometers of new roads. First expansion of Autopia since 2019, actually. And it's actually a connection from Fuego Flats, the expansion that had happened to add the desert section out on Zwift. That's going to go over to the Mayan jungle that's behind the Epic KOM area. So they're adding an expansion to 2 expansion spaces, actually. And I'm wondering if this is one of the first times that I think Up the Zwift is the other time that's happened within Watopia. But there hasn't been that many. So this is like an add-on to some add-ons that had happened in the past.
This is awesome. I mean, I'm all for new roads. Like, I see new roads, I'm like, I don't care what else there is. Like, I've got this. This is awesome. The pictures are beautiful. I actually like... I don't know who comes up with this stuff. You would know, Nathan. But it's a perfect road expansion. It is perfect for Watopia. The reason I'm saying that is it's joining 2 points in the map that I personally don't often go to. Like, sometimes I go with Coco Cadence, we go round that roundabout and then back through the desert, and I'm like, I don't want to do, I've literally had this, I don't want to do the hilly terrain of Titans today, but I also just can't really be bothered going back downtown. I guess I'll just stay in the desert. And then on the flip side, you have the jungle where I'm like, you've really got to have a reason to go out there. Like, usually it's a race. Because you've got to kind of, if you start downtown...
That's really funny. You got to have a reason to go all the way out to the jungle, man. Because you climb up that thing, and then it's just the Alp out there in this loop, and you're like, I'm wondering.
Yeah.
That's really funny.
But like, because I've been just kind of rolling around Zwift lately, aimlessly until Claire's come on and coached me, as I have aimlessly like ridden out to the jungle. And it's beautiful. Like I do ride out there and I'm like, this is actually a really good interval set too, because you kind of have the long downhill and then you can do the long draggy uphill as like an effort, recover back on the down up. And I was like, but I just don't go there. Whereas this now I'm like, yeah, I'd go there because 19K could do like a nice long extended warm up and then start doing some loops around the jungle. They've got that little cut short through there too, so you could cut it, make it a short interval session. I don't know. I just looked at this and was like, perfect. Like, this is great. And usually I like hills being added, but I love it. The pictures of it look amazing. It's kind of got like a real, someone will tell me in chat, the mosaic tiles. Like I think that's a bit of a Spanish thing and the way the buildings look. It just kind of has this like, I don't know, like Mediterranean beachside flair.
Mediterranean, Italian, or South American like feel to those houses. I definitely see that. I also see some of the forest in there looking a little different than what we've usually seen in some of the roads as well. If you haven't head over to Zwift Insider, you can see a lot of these. If you're listening in on the podcast, they've got a great post actually showing actually a little bit of video in there as well of some of it. So these roads, I think they're going to be super popular. I think it's one of the strategically, though, when you get into the developer's head, the accomplishment of a lot of people ride Fuego, right?
Mm-hmm.
And maybe the use of roads and getting places that people want to be maybe but don't necessarily go. I
Yeah.
think this is a great idea, right? Because tons of people are on Fuego Flats all the time. It's one of the most popular sections of all. I mean, it's the most populated, I think, section of Watopia. It used to be the flat roads with the bypass with the underwater tunnel, but now it's Fuego, and people just take a left, and you can go to some of the coolest roads that are in Watopia that don't get used much, I think, because it's so tough to get to them.
And because it's a like 19-kilometer link between like the roundabout to the jungle, start a kilometer in, like a kilometer early, you've got a 20K time trial on some beautiful flat roads. Like that's really cool too. Or you can do a 40K time trial straight line. This is a triathlete of me talking, from the desert through this flat bit. There's obviously a ton of like new routes coming, which is quite cool as well. So 8 new routes ranging up to 48 kilometers in length. So that's going to be awesome. I always love ticking off those badges. I'm just looking at this and I'm like, I would love to do a who gets there first race. Like you could start downtown and someone goes the traditional way into like the jungle area and someone takes the new road through the desert in the flat and see who gets there first. Like have like a race from downtown to the jungle banner and like boom.
I wonder if Gold Rush, for those that don't know, is a really old school third-party dev that had happened, and WTRL now have ownership of that. I'm not sure if the website was actually Zwift GPS. Zwift GPS is what Gold Rush was ran through, and it was a third-party web-based app that would track where you were, and then it would put little gold coins on the map on Watopia, just not actually in your game. You couldn't see it in the game, but you could go chase those things all over the place. They were like kind of random generated, right? And that gave me back the idea. And as Watopia expands, and this is big, like just messing around in my head with like, well, what could be? But it really reminded me that like one of the things was like there weren't enough roads that maybe were with enough options. Some of the roads might have been like we're going to climb a mountain or volcano, or you know what I mean. So there weren't enough flat places maybe, and maybe like as more connectors and more ways to get places open up, something fun like Gold Rush, and with what we're seeing come with the more Mario Kart-ish stuff gamification, maybe some built-in stuff in game where you can have some fun games like that. I wonder if the community would take to that. Like, would it be like, whatever? And I think like with what we see coming with the next thing we'll be talking about, which is this more like group competition in a gamification type space. So one of the other things on this season on Zwift is that there'll be multiplayer mode on Repack Rush.
Mm-hmm.
And so does that go toward, I mean, you have little coins in game, people are chasing them, and you can get some sort of bonus from chasing them on time.
Oh
You
yeah.
know, that
Yeah. I totally agree because I think I saw the Gold Rush thing ages ago, and the part that stopped me was it was like it wasn't in game, like I couldn't see the coin sitting twirling on the road for me to steer over and like grab it, right? But yeah, I think this could totally work. You say like, okay, like this you could go so many ways. So you could have like an event where you pick a non-game mode and you just go get from point A to B as fast as you can, like a regular event, scratch race. Or you go, I'm going to go the gamified one and I'll get time bonuses and I'll have this, that, and the other. And yeah, I mean, remember we talked about it ages ago with Repack Rush, and this is why I'm so stoked that I've seen it, where we were like, imagine a ZRL race where you tactically can send teammates through that gamified area to go get the team time bonuses. Like, it would be so cool, right? Like, and I think this is like a step in that direction, a hybrid kind of racing thing where you can see this gets me quite excited. Like, it would just add that sort of element, right? Where I'm all about tactics and you'd be like, man, who are we going to send that way? Who wouldn't we? Who's really great at steering? I just think it's cool. A multiplayer mode, yeah, totally the right way to go.
Carissa Min needs to calm down already because she is all about it right now over on our Twitch chat. She is like, I am totally in. Let's go.
Yeah.
Multiple chats coming in from Carissa. Absolutely loving it. So, yeah, I'm excited to see one other thing about this and to show that it's not just a repack rush, because in the past it's been only repack rush that's really gotten any kind of development toward this, like, at first it was mountain biking with steering. Now steering's gone across all the game. Now they're starting to put, it's like a test area where you see things happening. Well, this season on Zwift, we see Crit City with a mode that actually has the same stuff that we see in Repack Rush with little time bonuses, jump, launch pads, speed pads, or slowdown pads. So interesting to see how that'll play out in Crit City. I mean, like adding steering to that, I wonder how that's going to take. I'm excited to give it a try. I don't know what the release time on that is for those game modes. Did it give us an exact?
Continues to evolve this fall. So in the coming months. So it's a little bit general to fall though. So fall is for you guys, September, October, November. So sometime in the next 2 to 3 months. 8 weeks-ish.
Another one that I thought was pretty interesting was the addition to the workout library.
Oh, that was awesome.
And that's heading toward the companion app. And I'm wondering if this is also where they're going to start doing development with organization of things. Like I don't know, like right now the workout discovery and like being able to figure out what workouts you're doing and like mapping that out and planning for that, it definitely is really, really difficult to find what you need to find. And a lot of the athletes that I work with, like currently it's difficult enough that I ask them for their login.
Yeah, no, I've done the same thing.
And put it in their custom for them so that it loads from so I'll build the workout and then I'll load it from my Zwift because it goes across the internet to their and downloads for them into their Zwift if I logged it in. So it's because it's so complicated. So hopefully with it going to the companion app, things are going to start getting, I would hope, more simple for all things workout. And then there's this garage request that we've been making. I wonder if that'll go over there.
That'd be amazing.
Well, I don't know. Maybe. I mean,
garage sale.
Check out my stuff on Zwift on your companion app. You can see all your cool, dress your avatar on your companion app.
Oh my gosh. Actually, yes. Like my son's little school app where he could dress as Monster. We spent ages on that. So I didn't realize how much I loved companion app. Now, when I'm talking companion app, I'm talking offline companion app, like not when I'm sitting on Zwift. I don't think I use companion app at all. When I'm not on Zwift and I'm sitting at my desk at work, I love companion app. And I didn't realize how much until I was using an app that doesn't have a companion app. And I was like, what events are on tonight? Well, the app is loaded on my PC at home. I can't figure that out. And I actually then did something on Zwift instead because I was like, oh, I'll look on Zwift and see what's there. Okay, cool. I'll do that. And I'm such a have it in my calendar person. And then so I know like that's locked and loaded. That's locked and loaded. Yes, I'll do that. So yeah, this is awesome because often, I mean, now it's probably different with a coach and that my workouts will be there already. But before that, I would just go in and be like, what should I do today? You know, and just kind of like spend, like I'd have an hour time and I'd spend the first 10 minutes scrolling through workouts being like, oh, nah, or maybe that, no, this, no. So this is like awesome. I can like cut that out and like just have pure training time.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Good stuff. I'm loving to see this organization happen in this way. Other things, Pretzel Fest is coming. So
We
as
talked about
usual,
that.
Zwift Academy, it looks like is going for November 6th. Be on the watch out for
Can I give a shout out on that?
Yeah.
The paint job and the kit for Zwift Academy this year is sick. It is so good. It is a deep, well, I will definitely cover this in an upcoming fashion when I unlock this, but a deep purple with a sort of turquoise. Oh my gosh, when I saw that, I was like, I need that paint job. Like it looks awesome.
It's the best so far, in my opinion. It's the best so far. Yeah, 100%. It's really, really good. When I saw those colors and the scheme and everything about it, I was just like, that's new coolest kit in game by far. Zwift Hub now comes with 1 year of Zwift, but there is a price increase to $5.99, but you get 2 months free of Zwift alongside it. So that is also something that just happened actually as of yesterday. So let's see, anything else here that we really want to jump into, obviously?
Just the thing that's missing. And I think this is where Zwift has to be a little bit careful because they had coming up on Zwift the last time we did this. I do actually like these press releases where they kind of give everything that's coming up. But do you remember when we did coming up on Zwift before my winter? And I was so pumped about it and it's never arrived and it's not here. So I'm like, well, I guess it's just not happening. Is that terrain-based workout. Do you remember where you could go pick a route, but it would be a workout and it would have like messaging on screen and you could go, it was kind of similar to what they did in Zwift Academy last year where you did Legends and Lava, but it was a workout. So you'd go in and it would be like a sprint's coming up. We want this to be VO2. Okay, go, go, go. And then you'd sprint and they'd be like, okay, relax through the S's and then get to the volcano. This is your, you know, like threshold effort. Da, da, da. It was saying that it was going to bring out terrain-based workouts, but I've just never seen them. So I guess maybe that's fallen off the wagon.
That's a good point. I wonder, maybe ask about that and see what's going on with that. There is some terrain-based stuff, kind of, with the update that's coming to the Climb portal, with the changes to that. You know, where you can do the Climb portal with a change in how the difficulty. So you'll have a 50% of the climb, a 75%, or the original. As far as the scale of the climb goes. And I think there was a lot of questions, well, then are there going to be different leaderboards or what kind of like, because completing some of these climbs was really, really difficult. And I have a feeling that like, oh, the Tourmalet or the whatever, like these are just, this is going to take some people an hour and a half to try. I don't have that much time, but I want to get the completion of that climb. And so I think that they're doing it. And what do you're like, no, this ain't it. But well,
the reason you give yours.
They're so they are separated though. I completed it at this difficulty is actually said though. It's not like you completed Tourmalet. I completed 50% Tourmalet. I completed 75%. You still get the experience of it, but you don't get to say I completed the OG.
I just think they've made something way too complicated. Like, I think what would be easier in my mind is just they've got the have two climb portals active. Now, there's a climb portal that is the big ones. You've got the Tourmalet, you've got the whatevers. Now they just sit there, or maybe they're just every weekend or something. Like they're the ones like, the Alpe Zwift, where I don't go do that all the time, but sometimes I just want to go do it as a challenge, right? And I know, okay, Tourmalet's sitting there. I'll go do that. And then there's just a rotating sort of medium to easy climb that people can just go tackle. But now I'm like, oh my God, it just takes the shine off it a bit. Like it would be like if you went and did Alpe Zwift and then halfway up, it's like, okay, if you want to like exit now because it's gotten a little bit hard, off you go.
Well, I don't know. You complete Alpe Zwift though at the 50% of its difficulty, and you get to complete that experience. But some people might never complete that experience in
Also
game.
just go do epic climb. Like
but they want to complete Alpe Zwift.
Yeah, but you've got to go do Alpe Zwift. Alpe Zwift is Alpe Zwift. It's if you want to do 50% of Alpe Zwift, go do epic climb.
I agree with you in real life, but this is a climb portal, like a dungeon in a game. And when you first do your first game dungeon and you're not leveled up and you're not ready for hard mode, you do the easy mode. And then you can, like, once you get good enough at the game, you do the medium mode. And then if you want to do hard mode, you get the extra whatever you get because you did the hard mode. Because it's a climb portal and it's in a game and they have the opportunity to create this space where people can complete a cool epic thing that is at 50%. It's not like they're awarding you completing Tourmalet.
Yeah, but the thing is like they have a medium climb. So if I look at it personally, like if I was coming back into fitness, I'm like, well, I'm not fit enough to do Tourmalet at the moment. Oh, but they've got this medium climb, colder whatevers that takes about 15 minutes. Actually, I'm going to do that one. I'm going to try that one. Okay.
But we get the best of both worlds here. We get the best of both worlds because people want to identify with whatever climb that's happening or whatever that is. They want to say that I did. Now, I'm not saying that this satisfies in any way the I understand what you're saying where people want the prestige of completing Tourmalet OG. I shouldn't even have to say OG. I think that's what you're saying is like there isn't OG Tourmalet. There's just Tourmalet. I get that 100%. This is a fake climb portal.
So don't call it Tourmalet then. Then it's not Tourmalet. Like call it random Zwift.
It's 50% Tourmalet. It's 50% Tourmalet, and you experienced because look, if somebody wants to experience it, they could just turn a drill on, or you know what I mean? Like they're at their house getting an experience to get them to exercise. Like that's who this is aimed at. This is aimed at somebody who wants the experience of doing a cool climb that they've seen in real life. It does these things up and down, get the cool workout, mark the badge off, and I did easy mode of that climb. Like I'm okay. I'm totally with you that there's this other side of it that's like.
But then I think like, I don't know. So I look at it and I go, Tourmalet. Okay. It pops up, which I love. It says, how much time will this probably take? Okay. Like I said, I'm coming back into fitness. I get 75% of the way up and I'm like, oh, I'm not quite there today. I'm going to get there next time. And I do a U-turn and I cruise down and I go, damn, I didn't get that badge, but one day I'm going to get it. One day I'm going to get that Tourmalet. Like it's the whole point. Like and I think I would totally get this if they only had big climb options in the portal. I would understand it more, but they've got a whole range of different climb options. So if you're like, okay.
But there's only two active at a time. And I don't know. So it's just a different way of doing the exact same thing that you just said, just downgrading it a little bit and giving somebody that completion. I think on the date, I'm going to I don't know this for a fact. It's a guess, but like giving people like, I did it and giving them at least some sort of, I did it, but it was 25%. And maybe next time I'll be able to get the 50. and next time I'll work toward the 100. Like, and most of the population, I think they're trying to find what they're going to do. And like, if these climbs just aren't being touched at all, why are they even there? Let's not waste our time with having them there. So do you want the Tourmalet at all? Or do you want a 25%, 50%, or 100%? Because I think this is the happy medium that keeps it there. Because if people aren't using it, why are we giving a resource to it?
Yeah, well,
Like, I think
I
that's
guess
why.
time will tell if people use it
The
anymore with this
50%,
option.
25%, yeah. Maybe it doesn't do. I think that's the thinking, though. I think that's the thinking, and
No,
and and
I think it's dumb.
you know what's funny? You know what's funny, Anna, is that I 100% sat in your shoes probably 2 or 3 years ago of like, just do the thing, shut up, get harder, let's go, Rocky, come on, like
No,
life
I
ain't
don't
all
even mean
sunshine
that.
and rainbows,
I'm
like
actually even on the complete other side of it because, like, okay, I'll give an example. PRL full, that really long route. Like, we have PRL half, so maybe it is the same. You can go do PRL half. Okay, so maybe I'm proving your own point there. But I just think I've
do we
seen
do,
some.
do we need a PRL quarter now? Do we need to go up 35%?
But that's what I mean. I have seen so many amazing stories and seen them on Zwift of people who have got a whole community around them to make this challenge happen. And I think it's maybe like the Tourmalet is hard and it takes a really long time. So let's not, water it down by having all these other little things in there. It's sort of like PRL full is freaking hard and it takes a long
It's not
time.
watered down. It's not watered down. It still exists. It's still there. I think it makes it even more epic because now people will have an attention to pay to it where it's 25%, 50%. Whoa, you did 100%, and you can actually see the rating differences.
I'm getting people not agreeing with me. So I guess maybe I need to change my mindset. But someone said here, has said, come on, Anna, the majority of the population is Cat D. But this is the point I'm making is I have been Cat D. Like, I come back through pregnancies and I work through the categories. And in those Cat Ds, I have seen Cat Ds do freaking amazing things and pull a full community around them because of a huge challenge that sits there. That is a challenge
but that's still there. But it's still there. That's not like that's not there now.
Yeah.
Like, and here's the thing, like, if it were natural in game like the Alp to Zwift and you could just roll up to Alp to Zwift and then like turn a dial down, then I might be a little bit more like, that's not like entering a dungeon with hard mode, easy mode, medium mode. That's kind of like you can just change the climb. Like, I don't know about, but since it's in a portal, it makes it a little bit easier on my
the mentality when I first saw it was like, don't underestimate people. Everyone can take on this challenge. Come on, let's not tell people that it just screamed to me like, not everyone can do this. I'm like, everyone can. Like, they can do these challenges. And I guess it just made me feel that feeling.
But maybe though that this will be a carrot though for somebody to start thinking about doing 50 and 100, because most of them in their mindset give 3 hours of riding a week.
Yeah.
That like that's all this person gives to riding a week, and their one ride a week is going to be to go do the Tourmalet, or whatever, like that, and that this will tease them toward giving more of their time to riding a bike. You know what I mean?
Darren came through with that point that he said he'd do it on 50% if he only had an hour to give it a try and fit it in. So I was like, okay, yeah. I could be swayed around here. I came in hot.
Look, hold on. We don't have to. This is view 3 versus view 1. I mean, this is like,
I know.
Like we can make a meme out of this one. Don't let it go too fast. Controversies are the best.
I know. It's always good when we disagree. Okay, let me think on that one for a while. I'll take away my first visceral reaction and see if I can.
Look, I had the same reaction as you. What are we doing to the climbs? but I'm trying to get into the other mindset, and by putting myself into that other mindset, it's kind of swaying me. It's
Okay.
brought me over.
Okay.
I'm just trying, honestly, Anna, like I'm just trying to steel man the other side of the argument. I'm not like really
Yeah.
like as
Yeah.
best as I possibly can, So
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Oh well, all right. You gotta go open presents soon. Let's get into Coach's Corner here.
Yeah, this was
Uh,
a quick one that I came up with because we had it. We were chit chatting about it in our Discord group, and we actually had one of our riders was sitting with like the Canadian national track coach while we were talking about it, and so she asked the track coach, and then I kind of did some reading as well, and it was actually sparked from I think it was last week you were talking about it, or the week before, bicarbonate of soda. So like taking bicarb soda. And I was like, oh, maybe I should do that. And I'm like Googling like what little drink mix should I make and all of this. And so like one of the articles put it really well, and the Canadian national track coach kind of emphasized it again, which was looking at something, and I'm using bicarbonate of soda as the example. It could be anything that fits into this category.
mm-hmm.
But it was stated bicarb soda is the sprinkle on top of the cherry on top of the icing on the cake. And if you don't have the cake baked right, you should not be focusing on that. And I was like, okay, so this is that marginal gains versus just the, what did you call it? The foundation. And if we had a really good chat about it, and the national track coach and all of us kind of sort of came to the point of like, look, you got to look after the basics first. You have good sleep, good overall nutrition, consistency of training. If all of that is nailed down, I would say for like at least a year, like you can start to then sort of look at, in my opinion, some real small advantages you may be getting. But like if I look at myself, like I don't think I've nailed good overall nutrition yet. So why am I starting to look at like a bicarb soda thing, which to be honest, if I haven't even nailed like what I'm eating in a race with like the amount of carbs or something, it's not going to offer benefit. It could actually more end up being detrimental looking at the 1% of the 1% of the 1% rather than the 99% of something that will actually do me better.
Yeah, if you're focusing a ton, like if you don't know your nutrition and you're focusing a ton on bicarb soda, like, yeah, you're probably going to end up with a lot less. Like if it's one or the other,
Yeah.
I would
Yeah.
agree with those statements, right? And you only have so much time in your week, day, etc. And if you don't have the patterns down for the foundations already, and then you start spending time on figuring out how to do the bicarb, like that takes time. You have
Yeah.
to weigh it. You have to figure out what kind of mixture it's going to be, how much water to take with it. You have to then practice it for like weeks in order to get it right so it doesn't destroy your stomach inside of a race. I mean, and that, there is, out of everything that I know for marginal gains, that's one of the big ones. Like that one is like, from my experience so far, I is like, okay, I got an extra this many watts, it seems like, on a consistent basis while doing this. That's pretty freaking cool. And like, it's like it's the difference between I took pre-workout and I was able to do two extra sets of whatever lifting or something, or you know what I mean? And that's significant. That is
Yeah.
significant, right? But if I can't lift the weight, if I can't show up fresh, if I can't, you know what I mean? Like there's all these other things that if I'm not doing these basics, like you said, it might be detrimental, because there's one more thing here too, is that when you do these things for marginal gains, you can like hurt yourself.
Yeah.
like you can like blow up really bad, because one of the things, I mean, using bicarb is just a little example, is like, you can end up blowing up really fast because it makes it so you just can have massive more amount of lactate in your muscles and you don't feel it as much, and you're just like, boom, you're suddenly blowing up immediately, like because you don't know how to manage that well. So
Yeah.
anyways, I mean, there's
But
just a little
I
example,
mean,
but I agree.
the anecdote
The
is
only
with,
thing I want to push back, okay, go ahead.
but that's, I mean, bicarb soda is one anecdote, but there could be like, stuff I've seen in triathlon. People are like on their TT bike, stripping paint off it, doing all of that to get the lightest weight possible on their bike. And then I'm like, on race day, you're putting like 3 drink bottles on there. It's like, so your nutrition strategy for the race, like if your goal is to have a low bike weight for whatever reason on a flat TT course, like you should have a nutrition strategy where you have the minimum number of bottles and you use the aid station. But you turn up and they've got like 5 kg of water bottles on there. I'm like, come on, stripping the paint down is like Tour de France rider kind of stuff. Like, come on, that's like a 0.001% advantage. But just need to have really good, consistent training for a period of time before I even think about these little 1% advantages.
Yeah, and usually these things are things you have to employ over time, and really there isn't a magic bullet. That's I think is the thing, is like we can get focused in on trying to find that magic bullet, trying to find that little magic thing that's going to just change the race for us, or change if I do this little thing, and then we get really, really focused in on those things. And because one thing I definitely don't want to say, though, that I don't think is logically true, is it's not this or that. If I don't have these things in place, then I don't do this at all. Well, I don't know, like I feel like there's different phases for sure. So like, am I using some of these different things when it's like during my base building? No, like I'm not going to be doing any of some of those things at all during base building. It doesn't make sense to do that because it's not about high-end performance at that time. And so there's a, for me, like my philosophy mind goes, there is a fallacy somewhere in there, because these things will help. Like if you do them, some of them will help. It just is a time management thing, and is it worth it with your time to put this in where you might be putting your time somewhere else and your energy somewhere else? Now, if you do have the energy, you do have the time, and you're in a place where I can start employing these things and learning about them, I'm not against that either. Like,
no,
it's
but
not
I think
it's not
no,
like
but
when. So can I use the cake analogy really quick?
yeah.
It's not like I'm not, like, while I'm building the cake, I have an ideal in my mind about the cherry and the sprinkles, like, and those are gonna go on, and so I have to at least maybe have those cherries and sprinkles ready for when it's time to put them on. So it's not like you should just
Oh
ignore
gosh,
those
no.
marginal gains.
But what I'm saying is you can't
Yeah.
have like this cake that there's literally not a cake. Like you pull out of the oven and there's just a cherry sitting there with some sprinkles on top, and you're like, there's no cake. So like if you use your example, if you were sort of like, oh yeah, I'm sort of trialing this bicarb soda, and then I'm like, how's your training going? And you're like, oh, I missed like 5 of my training sessions this week. It's like, well, the bicarb soda isn't gonna like magic up training.
Yeah, you're looking at it from a totality. Yeah. You're looking from a total, like, what have you been accomplishing? Like, fine, use the bicarb soda, but like that would have done way more for you. Totally, 100%.
That's what I mean. Yeah. So, and I'm looking at like a coach perspective where people, often come to me with these things. They're like, oh, my friend told me that I should be having like beetroot juice. And I'm like, well, I'm telling you what would probably be better is if you hit all your training sessions. Because the beetroot juice, once you start hitting your training sessions and you don't miss that one or you don't cut that one short, then we can talk about these little add-ons. But let's just focus on you doing some consistent training, and I think that's what I mean.
People might miss the consistent training by putting energy elsewhere.
Yeah.
Is what you're getting at. Yeah.
Yeah, or putting the priority elsewhere, like sort of putting the priority on the shiny, cool thing that's out there in the endurance community, rather than kind of like when a good point is like when the Brownlee brothers were asked, so they're like top Olympic medal winning triathletes. And the older one, I think he's a double gold medalist. The older one was asked, like, what's your secret, And I don't know verbatim what he said, but it was sort of like, yeah, I'm boring. I wake up and I train and I do the basics right. It wasn't kind of like, I have 20 grams.
There's no, and that's when I first have my conversations with my athletes, some of them are looking for me to make it fun. And I'm like, I'm going to do the best I possibly can for you to get you into a mentality that makes this fun.
Yeah.
But you are in an endurance sport. You know the root of that word? Long suffering, endurance.
Yeah.
Like, you are in a sport that is about that's not necessarily that. Now, I'm not saying that it's boring at all. I'm not bored at all riding my bike or
No, it's just a
training or
turn of
anything like
phrase,
that.
you
I've
know.
learned,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think some people are though, Anna. I think
Oh,
some people
yeah.
are bored doing it, and so the mentality of loving training for its own sake is definitely a thing
Yeah.
that people can learn to
Yeah.
have. That's my point. But I love that the Darren came into chat here and said, to be honest, sometimes I eat a tub of glazed cherries.
I do
Forget the
love
cake.
glazed
Stop the
cherries.
cake.
I'm totally with you. The glazed cherries are awesome. But I think so. The answer to the question that I posed here in the show notes was, do we bother with the 1% for the 1% of the 1%? And in my mind, if you're in a situation like Nathan, where you have everything in the cake is nailed, like that's done, yes, absolutely, you're looking for those marginal gains because that's what's going to set you apart. You're the 1% of the 1% in your race this weekend. Like, you need to look for those little advantages. Where I'm at with things, do I need to bother looking at bicarb soda? No, I probably just need to hit all my training sessions for the next few months. So because my cake's half baked.
I'm gonna say that if you do hit all your training sessions and all that was happening in just a straight science point of view, if you also did that and did the bicarb, you would probably get a 1% advantage if you did all of that and did the bicarb. And that it's not an either or. It's the cake needs to be baked. The cake needs to be baked. And if you're baking the cake now, you don't have to let go of the cherries. Just make sure you're baking the cake. Like, I think at least that's the approach I would do. The either or is kind of like, I don't know, I don't know why we have to see. I like to have my cake and eat it too. So we can do all the things. You better know what you're doing with them. Yes, you might get an advantage with some marginal gain stuff. This is the way I would say it as my final word. Like, my final take on it is, like, you will get 1% by doing the 1%, but you're missing out on 99% right now.
Yeah.
So you're not getting the total picture. Fine, go do that thing.
Yeah.
But and I don't have a problem with you doing that thing. That's totally fine. It might be a waste of your money compared to, look, and this is what I was going to say earlier. Nobody can sell you hard work. Nobody can sell you hard work.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of attention on the 1% because they can sell you stuff to try and get that 1%. Usually there's a marketing coolest thing, whatever going on. And really the thing that's free to you, which is just doing more hard work, would get you a lot more.
Yep, exactly. So I kind of answered my question. I think that's good. We'll look at, I feel like we're disagreeing on so much today, Nathan. It's great. We're not disagreeing, but no, not disagreeing. No, like good chats, like coming from totally different realms. I'm liking it. Okay.
We'll have to make a whole lot of reels around this of us fighting about something.
I think I'm going to I feel like I'm just going to get a whole lot of hate from DCAT riders now on my chat about Tourmalet 50%. But anyway, we'll see how that goes. Anyway, this was the workout that I had set from Claire Cameron this week. So for those tuning into the podcast, you can't see the little sort of graph here, but basically it was a really super long warm-up, so like an hour-long warm-up. And then it was 6 by sweet spot surges in a long warm down. So it was 2.5 hours in total. And the long warm up was fun. I listened to a good podcast and then I chucked on some music after that. But yeah, it was nice. It was kind of like a good workout. I upped the bias a little bit because I was feeling quite good based off a lower FTP. And yeah, you started with a surge that wasn't crazy. Like, it wasn't a sprint. It was just like a increase in effort. I did the first surge seated, and then I'm just trying to get my body used to standing on the pedals again. So did the second surge up out of the saddle, sort of at like a 70 RPM, and then hit the sweet spot and tried to keep around 85 to 90 RPM, just to keep it sort of a nice tempo that I know that I could hold for a longer period of time. But yeah, I enjoyed this one. I know you tuned in for it, Nathan, for a little bit, but yeah, it was fun.
It's a super solid workout, really good, I think, SST work there into some threshold. I mean, really, SST work is like just not completely, absolutely suffering threshold work is really what it is.
Yeah.
And so really, really great sweet spot steady there. Absolutely love the little surges on either side to up your uh, lactate tolerance a little bit with then some steady state for clearing, and then boom at the end to throw some in there and recover. Like I really like, and then I really also like that you have that extension up front before. I like that you did some endurance up front prior to it, actually. I think that was a really good idea as well. So great workout. So we can actually, we're loading the workouts. I think you, to Zwift Community Live's website. I don't know if we can do that with this one, but
Yeah, so I asked
for workouts of the week.
I'll ask Claire. I said she said I could share it on the show and everything, so that's all good. I mean, maybe we just shout out that she's got a coaching name for her business. Yeah.
There, so you can find Claire. So you can find Claire Cameron. We'll put a little link underneath there. Currently, right now, if you head on over to ZwiftCommunityLive.com and go to the podcast page, you can find the workout of the week for this last week, which was my Guerra Hill Attacks, MTB Hill Attacks. You can download that over there. But we'll get this one updated in the next day or so. The podcast. So
nice.
Very cool. Sweet spot surges. Korean Korean
yes.
Racers jersey. I absolutely love that thing. That was really cool to see.
Yeah, and I've actually done a little bit of digging into the team. So I was on this, it was actually warming up for this workout, and I was sort of just rolling around Watopia, and I saw this jersey in the group. I was like, what is that? And it's the Korean Zwift Racers. There's only 29 team members. So this is like finding a diamond out in Watopia. Like, it's very, like, out of all the riders you see, the fact that you could see one of 29 out there. But you could tell this rider had like loved their fashion because the gloves, the helmet, and the socks perfectly matched to the maroon color of the jersey. Amazing. It just is a color I have not seen in Zwift. It's like not a hot red. It's sort of, maroon. And they've got a tiger. If anyone from Korea is listening, there's a tiger on the back. So I don't know if that's like the national animal or what's going on. But yeah, I loved the tiger, loved the sort of the color combos, and awesome to see like a small team with their own jersey.
Yeah, I personally will give that an 8.5. It stands out big time for me. I like the design, and then the exclusivity of only having 29 riders, like that's pretty freaking cool actually. Like value is created through demand and exclusivity, and it's a good looking kit, so it's got the demand and it's obviously exclusive. So pretty cool. At least in marketplaces, that's how it's created. So that's cool to see. Nice there for the KZR. So, well, it looks like Daz Carter and BL13, as far as things that are coming up over this week, they have recon rides happening with endurance runners. I see that in the show notes. Is that right?
Yeah, so if I don't go out gravel riding, I'll be joining in. But yeah, Daz Carter has got a ride. It's my time early Sunday morning, so it'll be evening time Europe on Saturday. And I'm not sure about how that would work for the Americas, but so they've got a recon ride for ZRL next week. And I urge everyone to go find these recon rides because they're just awesome. We've got actually Sarah Snowpins, where M. Nyquist is leading one as well, a women's only one. But yeah, they've got some endurance runners on for a Q&A. So some really solid runners. So go in and have a chat to them about bicarb soda and all of those kind of topics. And then we've got, is it Brune? You'd know his first name, Zach Brune, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, Jay Brune
from Next messaged me about some support Next is putting into some MS rides this weekend. So just go search those on Zwift. They might have a hashtag under Next, or just check out Next social media, and they'll have some rides coming up this weekend. So just a bit of shout out to the community stuff happening.
speaking to companion app, you can always find the events that are coming up in the companion app. So if you are able to, you can just go ahead and search around in the companion app for this weekend. The MS rides, absolutely awesome. That Next are doing something for charity and supporting, the MS community out there. So absolutely always loved. And you know what's cool about that is I like it that it's an elite team. That's really, I mean, they are the elite of the elite teams in some ways. You know what I mean? They've won a lot of stuff. They've got a lot of palmares and hype around them, but at the same time that they're out there doing something cool for charity in the middle of their race season and going into ZGP. So good on them, and go ride with some of the next guys this weekend. I think they'll probably have some tips and tricks probably as well for you when it comes to ZRL. They seem to know what they're doing.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. That's why I wanted to highlight it. They're a great crew, and that'll be a fun ride.
100%. Well, that's going to be it for us. I'm going to be racing Schwamagon this weekend. If you're going to be up here, make sure at the Lifetime Grand Prix event, make sure to come say hi at the finish line. There's a big festival party afterwards. So no, I think I'm going to do one of the shakeout rides tomorrow. There's a Kenda one, and there's a Lifetime Grand Prix one. So we're probably going to do, me and Gabby will be here racing all weekend. So we're going to come and say hi if you're around. Anna,
I'll be doing... Yeah, I'm not sure on the gravel ride yet. I might be doing a long sort of 3 to 4 hour gravel ride. Because of all the kiddie stuff on this week, I've had to shift workouts to the weekend. So I might be doing a double day on Saturday. So I'll be streaming those. So come in and give me a shout of support as I start hitting some harder stuff. And then, that's kind of, and then DSing for the team next week. So that's me before next week's podcast.
Awesome. Well, this has been episode number 61 of The Wrap. You can find this as a podcast to download anywhere that you do download your podcast, or head on over to zwiftmelive.com. You can sign up over there for our newsletters. They're going to be starting up this week, actually. And you can also find all of our broadcasts over there, as well as the workout of the week on the podcast tab. So I think that's going to be it for us as far as being live. We have been live on Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. So go ahead and hit those follows, likes, comments, do all that good stuff. It helps out the channel a ton. And we'll see you next week for episode number 62 from myself and Anna and everybody at Zwift Community Live. Thanks a lot for tuning in, and ride on.